So with gesture drawing, you're trying to just capture the essence of the form, the essence of the action that's happening. Um, and I know we went right from stick figures into gesture, which may have been a little confusing, but we will be moving back and forth between really plotting out the anatomy of the figure and then capturing the life of the figure. So gesture drawing is to really capture the thrust of the motion, and sometimes you emphasize the motion to do that. And they're done relatively quickly, so that you're not moving along, you're not deadening the lines, you're really keeping the lines alive by moving quickly. So if you look at this, I'm having you draw from some gesture drawings because I think it'll help you to loosen up. And you might look at this and think, well, how the hell am I going to even begin to approach this? But you can approach it the same way that you approach a photograph. So I'm going to start up here actually. So the shoulders are at this angle. There's a curve in the spine. The hips are more or less straight across. One leg is going down in front of the other. The other one's going down like this. So I'm capturing the basic flow here in the gesture. And this shoulder goes up, this arm goes out. And I'm keeping my lines fairly light right now until I decide what's where I want things. So you're kind of feeling your way into the form. So that often involves just drawing through the figure, across the figure. So I know I want to emphasize this curve of the hip here. And the other leg is going over here. And I'm emphasizing that curve of the hip. This shoulder is emphasized. I just want to make sure I have the right length going through here. And the crook in this arm, there's a division between the upper arm and the forearm, and that's kind of emphasized there. So obviously you're not drawing this line by line verbatim, but you're capturing the basic energy that this drawing captures. And this person even has a little bit of a face here, which you can attempt or not. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to see what I need to move. And I think I've got the pose down, although this hip wants to come out a little bit more. And then I want to emphasize a few lines just by pressing in and creating a little bit of an accent on those lines. And maybe where there's a shadow, you could emphasize the lines. All right, so I need to do a little bit more with the legs here. So this doesn't give me a foot, but I'm just going to put one in. And this leg goes back, and it's a little bit, we're seeing a little bit of perspective here so that it doesn't go all the way down to where the other leg is. And let's see, this shoulder kind of comes up more. I could have kept that a little bit lighter. But basically, that's what you're capturing. And your drawing is going to be different from this drawing, and there are corrections that I could make on this, but that's the basic idea, is to keep your hand moving, keep the lines loose, so that when you go and draw from a photo, you can approach it the same way. So I want to get the head here. The shoulders are coming out like this. The main lines here, this leg coming up, this leg going out, and head going that way, so I can make sort of a flatter side of the head there. And and the arm going down here, and then the other arm going across. And basically that's the main thrust of the gesture. And this figure isn't in motion, but there's definitely tension in the body that we can work on. So, and these muscles are sort of defined, so we can maybe go around, get some of those lines. Move the head a little bit more forward. So you don't have to erase on these, you can make your corrections. It's a good idea to keep it light in the beginning, and I could have kept this a little bit lighter to make corrections, but move that out a little bit. Really big thick thighs, get that calf. And I always like to have a little bit of a heel and an underline for the position of the foot. And I'm running into her, but just going to emphasize that foot. And I'm realizing that this, yeah, that's about right. And then this is in shadow, so I have to sort of guesstimate where that goes. And then again, you can kind of emphasize certain areas once you've got it down here. Maybe emphasize a few little shadowed areas. And those little accents kind of help lead around the form. I hope I have a visitor up here. And that's basically all you need to do. I'm gesturing through the form here because I'm seeing the tension running through. And it's interesting, the back here, it's almost like a cross of lines in the back. So you might need to do these a couple of different times before you get it down. But the more you practice this, the more life you're going to have in your forms. And, we'll go back and forth. We'll plot out the anatomy. We'll draw it in geometric forms. We'll also watch how the muscles wrap around the skeleton. So we will do some anatomical drawings where you're getting things right. And I know it's hard to loosen up and just be messy this way. A lot of times people want to be neat, but this has a lot more motion in it than if I, let's see, can you see this? Yeah. Than if I did than if I just did the skeleton inside. Let's see. Put the hip here and the hip here, and then this. So, Ollie, move. So going around this figure like this, I mean, you might get some accuracy in the contour, but it doesn't have the movement to it, especially if you're going back and forth with the line. But even just drawing around the skeleton and making a contour, you may have some accuracy in the form, and I'm drawing from a gesture, so that's a little tricky. But this really gets you to open it up and kind of capture where the figure's coming from and where the figure's going. So so there's just a lot more in it. And this is Ollie. She says hello. I'll see you next week.